First of all, Charles Manson, hilarious backstory.
Okay,
Like,
I need to know.
You're gonna need to elaborate on why it's hilarious.
Yo, you know what I really like is getting freaky with it. But I don't have enough women willing to get freaky with it.
Which just goes to show not all smart people are smart enough to be called smart people.
Oh no, the
Sprayer? Oh boy.
Insane.
Oh, trust
I'm
me,
like,
in this
whatever.
scenario, there's a lot of.
yeah.
No, there's a lot of...
Oh no.
Okay,
All right.
Okay.
Gabby's getting taken out back and bonked repeatedly.
Oh, bro.
No, not like that. No, you know what? You're getting bonked for taking that sexually.
So a lobotomy.
How did we get here?
I'm not starting the cult. We were going to talk about cults, right?
Cults.
Yes,
Cults and chemical weapons and just in general people's nastiness.
How do cults and chemical weapons connect?
Gabby?
Aum Shinrikyo. So it was this cult in Japan. They started off, just doing normal cult stuff, but it was a doomsday cult.
Okay, fun
And
times.
then it ended with a sarin gas attack.
You know how there's that whole thing where it's like with Helter Skelter and the belief of like, okay, guys, there's
wait. You mean how Charles Manson was like, there's going to be a race war and the
So
blacks are going to win, but the blacks will need a white person to lead because they're too stupid?
Yes.
Wait, what? Can you explain that?
You guys go. We'll come back to Helter
We'll
Skelter in a
definitely
minute.
be able to come into it. But you know how the basic premise of that, for the whole thing, for why they started doing the murders, was because it's like, hey, this thing is coming, but we're going to need to start it. Like, they basically thought that, hey, in order to know when it's going to happen, we're going to need to kick it off. So they tried to begin the whole thing. Aum Shinrikyo had that same kind of thought of, like, there's going to be an apocalypse. We're going to be the only ones that are going to survive. So we might as well be the cause of it.
But you remember, okay, so they only did this major gas attack after they were about to get caught. So it would just, like, start the entire apocalypse. But before that, and I'm not even joking, they were quite literally the worst at being a cult.
Imagine if the Three Stooges tried to be a murder cult.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding.
So
this is stupid.
They tried to make anthrax, but they were using cultured anthrax, so it's already super weakened, and not just like actual anthrax. And then they were making these cultures in giant vats. And at one point, one of the people
What was the
working
other one?
for the cult
Okay, so what you're telling me is that this whole image that Japanese people are much smarter than everybody else is carefully cultivated and not true at all.
But they were from all around the world. It was like
good.
scientists, engineers, doctors. It was people with lots of money. Like one person paid like
But you're telling me scientists couldn't figure out anthrax?
That's the thing. One person paid like what would be the equivalent of $20-something thousand for the leader, like Shoko Asahara's blood, to do a blood rite. Like, these people had money. They had you money. They were smart, and they were. At one point, somebody fell into the giant vat of, like, I don't know if it was the anthrax or the sarin, a giant vat of chemical they were planning.
Wasn't the sarin? It was back when they were trying to do the biological weapons,
And they
because
were spraying
they had anthrax, but the other one was botulism.
Yes.
That was it. What it
He
was.
fell into the vat, did not die, and they were like, "It's fine. We're still gonna
He
use
is
it.
the Messiah.
We're still gonna use it." Nobody dies. They just like polluted the town with weird liquid.
You know how you've seen dogwood trees and what happens in spring where like there's this yellow film that's they basically did that with a truck and a
the goo.
sprayer where they were going around spraying what was essentially it was a biological weapon, and they were trying to spread it around the city, and it did nothing except create a kind of weird smell.
They bought like an entire ranch in Australia. Oh, but before they got to this ranch in Australia, they decided to go with like 40 pieces of luggage, literally a soap container that was unlabeled that actually had chemicals in it. Like, they took all of their chemicals, all sorts of weird.
What year was this?
It's the 1980s.
Yeah. It was before they had like really tight security. But the thing is, they got into trouble. Like, 2 people got arrested. I don't know how they thought they could just like pull up to a whole other country with chemicals and lab equipment that was just unlabeled.
They had basically labeled soap, but it was like chlorine. It wasn't chlorine, but it was.
I think it was like something explosive. It just was not something you could fly with. So they got arrested for flying with just like unsafe equipment, like chemicals and just.
And this ranch in Australia was specifically used as a research laboratory in order there was like mass sheep corpses everywhere because they were testing their chemical and
it was
biological
in the
weapons on
soil.
sheep.
It was in the soil, and there was like a really loud, like a huge explosion that was so big that it actually got registered on the Richter scale. And nobody to this day even knows what they were doing.
Yeah, somebody did that in Pottstown a few years ago.
The general theory from
a
it
meth lab.
is that either it was just an accident or they were actually trying to develop basically a dirty bomb.
Yeah.
It's kind of embarrassing to have that much money and that many smart people around and they can't figure out how to build a bomb. Yeah. I could probably figure out how to build a bomb with what's in my house.
Well, the bigger issue of what they ended up trying to do was that they kept on using these spray pumps out of vans in order to spread this stuff. And as she said, one guy straight up fell into a vat of one of them and it did nothing to him, and they still decided to proceed with spraying it anyway, even though it literally didn't kill the person that fell directly into the vat that it was filled with.
What were they expecting?
The thing is, though, they did multiple sarin attacks, and nobody suspected them as the people who did. So there was one where they were trying to build one of their
headquarter
Yeah,
things.
what was the religious background here? Was this like Shinto? Was it Christianity? Like,
it was a mishmash of all of it.
Imagine, if you will, super doomsday Christian as like is a base, but without Christian beliefs. It's more so of a mix between Hindu, Buddhist, Shinto, with like apocalypse level Christianity mixed in there.
oh my God.
Yeah, so it was a combo, honestly. But they did an attack because they were trying to expand. The people of the town were like, no, we don't want you to come here. And this is before they knew they were insane. So
They knew they were weird and they didn't want them there, but they didn't know they were murder crazy.
Exactly.
Got it.
They decided that the council members for this like town, they were about to vote to keep them out of the town. So they were like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to kill them. So they go and they do a sarin attack on the town. And like people did get sick, but it wasn't like really good sarin. So they didn't die. You know what I'm saying? And then once this attack happened, nobody even suspected the cult.
You know how there's
Nobody suspected them.
You know how there's early depictions of like gas attacks in World War I? It's like, how are they releasing the gas? Well, they're taking the canisters and they're basically like fanning it in a direction to do that. That's what they did, where they went to this town and where all the apartments and other places where these council members lived, but were also in the neighborhoods with other people.
Okay.
They released canisters of gas in that direction once the wind had picked up to go in that set direction, and it spread out from there. And that's what they did.
But that's not the worst thing they did. So there were people who joined the cult with lots of money who started to realize, okay, we should probably leave this cult because we don't want to be mixed up in this. And so there was a lawyer who was helping them escape, and they warned him. They were like, if you don't stop, we're going to kill you. They did, in fact, kill the lawyer, his 1-year-old, his wife, and nobody suspected them until years after the like huge sarin gas attack. And then it came out like years later, oh, they actually murdered this man, his entire family, and then spread their bodies throughout different prefectures in Japan. Yeah. Yeah. They were
very well adjusted from what I can tell.
Yeah,
Yes.
they were terrible people. But yeah, that's how chemical warfare and cults combine. You asked.
I did
Your
not
fault.
expect that to get that well put together.
Oh, and then this is all just the parts that we talked about here for where they failed. That's not even talking about what they actually ended up doing.
The actual attack
The,
would have been
the
so much
Tokyo
worse.
1995 sarin gas attack
Did it actually work?
It killed a lot of people.
But
So
it
they
wasn't.
eventually did figure it out.
They did, but it wasn't good still because they rushed it. So when they tested the sarin, they said that if they actually took the time to purify it, if they weren't rushing and they did a good job making sarin, so many more people would have died because
How many people are we talking about died here?
14 people died, over 1,000 got sick.
Yes.
Wow.
They could have killed thousands.
But the thing, because they went to, like, if you've never been to Japan during rush hour is so busy on those trains. And so they went to the train station. They had the sarin in, like, bags. They placed it on the trains, and then they took umbrellas and, like, popped them, and then they left. So then as the trains go through all of the very busy train stations, it would spread the sarin repeatedly.
Right.
But they just did a terrible job making the sarin.
Because what was happening is that they were already suspected from a couple other things. So a raid, because they had people within the military. Like they had cult members within the military, within the police. They were established everywhere. So they learned that a raid was going to take place. So their whole goal was to launch a terror attack to distract the police, to hopefully give them enough time to pack up and get out of there in order to reestablish themselves. What ends up happening then is that because sarin takes a while to be able to produce, they had to rush the job. And instead of being colorless, it was brown.
Yeah.
Like it was yellowish brown.
Oh, no.
So because it's supposed to be clear when it's pure,
Yeah.
this means that people would never actually see it.
Yeah.
But because you have this slightly yellow-brown gas that is now spreading around, people were able to see, hey, there's something here, and then actually get the hell out. Not to mention, because it was less pure, it wasn't as deadly. Yes, it still killed people, but people could actually see something was happening instead of everyone just dropping like flies.
Yeah.
Right, which would be a lot scarier.
And because of that happening, yes, the destruction was awful and people died, but instead of it distracting the police because the casualties were arguably lower, it allowed the police to be able to launch simultaneous raids across the country to capture them.
Yeah.
And they did. They ended up finding the leader. He was hiding inside of a wall, wasn't he, in one of his compounds?
I think so. And at his compounds, they also had a ton of people imprisoned.
Yeah. That never were reported as missing. They just found people that were imprisoned there for potentially years.
I
How
don't.
did they not get reported missing?
That's what I kept asking. But people are like, well, the cult was so powerful
But
that.
I don't care about the cult being powerful. Like, if Uncle Tom disappears, I should not have picked
Oh,
that.
You should not have pointed at her while saying Uncle Tom.
For the record, that was... I was going to say Uncle Tommy, but then I have an Uncle Tommy, so I just shortened it to Tom, and then I realized that... So your uncle... Your uncle... Shaunathan. Your Uncle Shaunathan goes missing, and you're like, hey, I guess Uncle Sean's just gone to Hokkaido.
We have to remember in Japan, though, there is a culture of people disappearing.
What?
There is.
Oh, so if they feel like
so this is why there's no missing 411 in Japan, is because they just don't care.
So
Got
if
it.
they feel like they're failing their family, if they're in debt, if they're failing at their jobs, they literally just up and disappear. What's the name of it? I forgot what it's called.
I forget
But
the exact
It is
name.
a practice that people in Japan do where they just disappear from
Guess
their
it's better
actual
than
lives.
seppuku.
Imagine it is a combination between, oh, I'm going to go get milk, and quiet quitting.
Yeah.
Where there are
Lives with their
agencies
family.
there are agencies in Japan
That will
that
help
help people quit their lives and establish new lives elsewhere.
Oh my god,
Oh my
that's
God.
just identity fraud.
Well, it's also like
They have
witness
privately owned witness protection.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's witness protection.
Yes.
Japan is really fun.
Everything
love
I
it.
hear about Japan convinces me it's not a real place.
You have to go and see for yourself. Like
I don't
people,
like flying.
you could take a boat.
I would hate that even more.
So no Alaskan like cruise for you.
No, see, I did do an Alaskan cruise, and the
Antarctic.
water was really choppy, and it was actually a lot of fun.
Antarctica, like I want to do the cruise to Antarctica. That's like $12,000 to
Oh,
$24,000.
you're gonna go over the ice wall?
I want to go so bad to Antarctica. It would be so fun. But Drake's Passage, everyone's like, it's so scary. I would sleep like a baby on that. Like, I would just be out.
If you've ever seen the TikTok compilations of where they just pull up the old pirate anthem from
Yo ho, all hands.
Yo.
I hate that song. It's so overplayed.
It's literally just that with images of the North Sea,
Yeah.
and then Drake's Passage, and that's all that they ever use
And
for
none
it
of it
because
is
it's
scary.
gigantic waves with the
But
freight ships.
this song makes it scarier because if you put I'm a Barbie girl over the exact same footage, then you're just like,
I feel like you'd feel differently on the ship.
I love turbulence though. Like the rougher.
Oh, she
the
sleeps like a
turbulence-
baby in
so
rough plates.
I literally pray before I get on a flight. Please let there be turbulence so I can sleep because the
Literally
moment that
everybody else
plane-
on the plane is praying exactly
No.
the opposite.
I'm like knocked out. I buckle in, put my mask on. The plane starts shaking. I'm like, hell yeah, this is gonna be the best sleep of my life.
I don't
And it always
handle
is.
I don't handle regular flying well.
So you don't like turbulence at all?
No.
I love the like when the plane drops and your stomach does the thing.
We had
Fun.
to do go arounds on both of our flights back from Alaska because we almost landed and then didn't. Like the like you could see we're literally like maybe 100 feet from the ground, and the pilot's like, nope.
Oh no.
And that happened twice, and I was convinced we were gonna die both times.
Oh my
Here's
god.
I was like, this is how it ends.
The thing that helps with flying and what helps me is that, and it's why I want to jump from an airplane. I want to do like skydiving. When you're up there,
She didn't
literally-
begin that with
you're
skydiving. She just said, it's a reason I want to jump from an airplane. And like, that is where it began.
Steven, when she dies tragically, will your second wife also be from the Caribbean?
he has historically only ever dated girls who are not. his mother, when we first started dating, and I met his mom. They looked at me and they said, "Hey, we always knew he was gonna date a non-white girl because he was watching Miss America, and it was Miss Georgia, and he was like small child, like Joya's age, 5 years old, and he was obsessed with Miss America, and it was a beautiful black woman." So I feel like it was always...
I'm never going to escape the jungle fever allegations after that video you made.
Steven is so woke.
I need to stress this right now for anyone who's watching. I've been in multiple relationships here in the past. Yes, it is true that I have never dated a white girl. However, that was not my choice. I have asked out many, many white girls. The only thing is I've been rejected over and over and over again.
They have high standards.
What are you trying to say?
I'm joking.
Hello, my wife, the person who is pledged to be with me here forever. What does that say about you?
Oh, I never said I had high standards.
Oh, it's getting worse. Oh, boy.
I'm kidding. I get made fun of by my friends because I have impossible standards.
Yeah, see, actually, this ties back into the Helter Skelter thing because Charles Manson was a white man who thought that the black people were going to elect him king of the blacks.
That's Charles Manson? Like, okay. I have to say this. The only thing I know about Charles Manson is there was a guy in high school who was obsessed with Charles Manson.
That's a red flag.
He wanted to be best friends with all of the women of color.
Oh, that's interesting.
And the other girl who he was like obsessed with is now, I can't even say her name on here. She is a very, very famous rapper.
Oh.
And she was my friend. And so both of us, he tried to invite us over to his house.
Is
and
it
both
Lil
of us,
Kim?
No.
Ice Spice?
No, she's
Doechii?
She's my age because we were in the same class.
I don't know how old any of these people are.
I feel like Doechii might be younger than me. I don't know, but
Probably.
he would try to invite us both over. But then he would also just never shut up about Charles Manson's like.
Wait, high school?
Yeah.
Where's Nicki Minaj from?
No. Not Nicki Minaj.
I was like, ooh, high school, Caribbean, Nicki Minaj.
I'll show you after, and I might show you on the Patreon.
Okay. All right.
The Patreon exclusive portion.
Okay.
So it's not like out in the world.
Oh God. Yeah. No. First of all, Charles Manson. Hilarious backstory.
Okay, I
Like,
need to know.
You're going to need to elaborate on why it's hilarious.
I can't remember the details about his childhood, but he had a messed up childhood. Like I think his dad abandoned him. His mom ended up not doing a very good job raising him at all. He ends up at a place called Boys Town, which is not the kind of place you would expect of a place called Boys Town. It was a juvenile detention camp.
I believe that's called Boys Town. That makes sense.
He ends up escaping. He goes back to jail a few times. At some point, I can't remember the exact crime, but it was something that should have realistically carried a sentence of 10 to 15 years in prison. And he ended up being let out on parole for God knows what reason. Ended up like with a probationary sentence. But this man, for example, he's in prison at one point. He learns how to play the steel guitar. Do you guys want to guess who taught Charles Manson how to play the steel guitar in prison in the 60s or 50s?
Oh God, I have no
Take a guess.
The steel guitar.
You'll never guess.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Danny Trejo.
Who's Danny?
Charles Manson learned how to play steel guitar from Machete.
I wish I knew who that was. I'm so sorry.
Have you seen Spy Kids?
Machete.
Yeah.
Yeah, Uncle Machete.
Machete, like Hispanic guy,
Yeah,
long hair,
wait.
with the blade.
Why was he there?
That's because he was in prison for drug stuff and gangs.
Heck.
Yeah, he taught Charles Manson to play guitar.
And then ended up on Spy Kids?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need a backstory.
We have two very different stories of redemption here. I do have an episode on Charles Manson from forever ago that goes into all of this. It's actually one of the better older Lore Lodge episodes.
How have I missed that? Because I used to obsessively watch the older Lore Lodge episodes.
I don't know how you missed that one. I did get something wrong in it. It was a minor thing that was very tangential to the story, but I've been thinking I need to go back and redo a Charles Manson episode. But yeah, getting to the Helter Skelter thing. This man was convinced not only that the Beatles were speaking to him in code through the song Helter Skelter,
Especially when played backwards.
Yeah, which is about going down a slide.
Just like
What I understand.
Because
big
they were
slide,
also
small slide.
Big slide, I guess.
because
like
mind you, at that point they were all also super high all the time as
all
well.
the time.
Like that.
What a time to be alive.
Personal point on this here, and I'm just saying this right now. I don't like the Beatles.
Oh, me neither.
I really don't, and a lot of people would talk about for the peak music for like, especially like when they get into their drug phase and where the music gets really good, as people would say. I hate hate it. I think that it's stupid, and that the whole thing is that it's literally drug-fueled nonsense that means nothing.
Don't like
We all live in a yellow submarine. No, you don't.
Because
you live on land.
Music doesn't make my brain feel like it's gonna do like it's doing a jiggling thing. I don't listen to it. Like I need my music to make me feel like my brain is being tickled.
All right, I don't even know how to respond to that one.
So a lobotomy.
Anyway, Helter Skelter. Charles Manson comes to the conclusion that there is going to be a race war. It's coming.
Yeah, of
And-
course, naturally.
And, despite the fact that, in his opinion, African Americans were stupid, they were brutish, they were also a major minority back in the 60s. America was like 95% white. He is convinced that they are going to win the race war.
It's because we're like, right?
Because slay. So he's convinced they're going to win the race war. But the problem is, you see, the African Americans they're too stupid to rule themselves. So they'll spare one white man, and they will elect him king, and he will rule over the new black America.
Were they gonna vote the white man in, or were we just like?
They were going to appoint him, Charles Manson, king. You like. Now keep in mind, Charles Manson, his IQ tested at not genius level. No, that would be absurd. Not like 150 to 180. No, that's too high. But it also didn't even test at gifted level. He's not in the 130 to 150 bracket either. In fact, he's not even above average at somewhere between 115 and 130. He's not even average at 100. He had an IQ of 95. And he was convinced that he was the man that was going to be appointed to lead Black America. Now, keep in mind, this is at a time where you have black people in professional positions. You have them working as professors at universities. There's black people in government who are IQs several standard deviations away from him and more accomplished, who are not on probationary sentences, somehow not going back to prison, mainly because the CIA was feeding him LSD because of MKUltra. That's a real thing that happened. Yes, the Charles Manson story is so incredibly convoluted that every time you bring up a new point in it, you're like, that can't possibly be true.
It's like the definition of the story of like, the government wouldn't do that. Oh, yes, they would.
Yeah.
That's Wendigoon, isn't it?
Yeah, he's going to be on the show at some point. So Charles Manson basically goes to prison, gets onto parole. He shouldn't have. This was like his 4th or 5th time in jail, but California in the 60s. So he goes to prison, he gets let out of prison, and his parole officer starts feeding him LSD and giving him more LSD because the CIA wants to figure out if you can use LSD to do mind control. It turns out you can. And then he needs a place to stay. He needs a set of friends to hang out with. You're in LA in the 50s and or I guess the 60s at this point. So who are you going to hang out with when you're a drugged out parolee who's constantly tripping on acid? You're going to hang out with the Beach Boys. He became friends with, I think, the drummer of the Beach Boys and would just hang out at his house. And they would have LSD parties and he would bring girls over.
He got free LSD is what I'm focused on.
Yeah.
Like the government gave him
Not just
his
free LSD, government subsidized
sponsored.
LSD.
That's actually kind of a bragging right. Like,
Yeah, well, no, because they were like, oh, this guy is perfectly gullible. Like, this will be so,
control that man.
Yeah, they were like, oh, okay, let's find somebody who is average to slightly below average intelligence, but good looking and charismatic. And let's see if we can control him into controlling other people. And apparently, for some reason, white women in LA in the 1960s thought this guy was the hottest thing on the planet.
Have you seen the guys that are thought of as hot in LA? His sister and cousin were out there like a while. Just everybody knows everybody else. And then there's like the people who everybody thinks are hot. And then there's like the parties that everybody goes to. And it's always like, really? That guy? Mm-hmm. It's still like that. Still like that. To this day.
Like with Ted Bundy, I at least kind of get it. Like Ted Bundy was a pretty good looking guy.
Wasn't that a serial killer?
Yes.
I mean, he was hot.
He was a good looking guy.
I just don't get the hype. Yeah. There's like fan clubs and fan fiction. Did you know there's Ted Bundy fan fiction?
I assumed there was.
I feel like we should talk about that because
there's fan fiction about me. There's probably fan fiction about you.
I already know that
send
there
it
is.
to him on
Yeah.
it was him, Cleopatra, and some other guy.
I've been sent. Oh, you got that kind of fan fiction.
Yeah, he gets
Yes.
like the really fun.
Thankfully,
like,
I have not had. Okay, you know what? I haven't
levels of-
seen smut about myself.
Just for that, now you
If there's
do
smut about
understand
you,
that
I will
since
find
this
it
is
and
in
I'll
the
send it
episode,
to you.
that is something that will be in your inbox within the span of the week of this episode dropping.
Not if
everybody
no
watching
women
this,
watch it.
Everybody watching this, I need you to either write or find the weirdest fan fiction about these two, not together, just in general.
Oh, now you've just created something worse.
And just
All right, who's the top
do you guys have like an email for this
for this? Not
show?
yet.
Okay,
We probably
send
shouldn't.
it-
I feel like it's a bad idea.
Send it to like the Instagram. It's History Unhinged Pod. And I will make sure they read it.
Oh,
Like
no.
we'll do like a patron exclusive where they read.
Read the fan fiction.
This has
aloud.
happened before.
I
Oh
can
my God.
dramatically read it to them because I do spend a lot of time reading fan fiction. But they better be good because I'm a harsh critic. I've been writing fan fiction since I was like.
I'm gonna look it up. Do you think?
God.
Do you think there
But
is?
you know, it does not have to.
All right.
be-
How do I
oh my
find?
God.
How do I find a fan fiction?
You just go to Archive of Our Own, AO3. Yeah. AO3 is the biggest one. And then there's just like DeviantArt, which is art and fan fiction. Don't go on to DeviantArt actually.
Especially not with a camera pointing behind you
Yeah,
here.
because
Like,
he knows. I sent him a few recommendations the other night while I was really drunk, and I regret it to this day.
Oh, there is one. It's.
I had to
Oh,
read
I know
one
this
about a
one. I
guy-
know this one. It was by one of our followers. This one's not weird. It's me,
Aw,
Aiden, and Wendigoon hunting down something.
oh, okay.
That's like normal. That's.
I
so
had to read
cute.
one about a guy giving birth through his penis.
Yeah.
Oh.
It happens.
Oh.
It happens.
Oh my.
I forgot that was in there. I'm so sorry. I thought it
Yeah.
was like a story, and I forgot what was in the story.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was really drunk when I sent him that.
Yes.
Wait, Helter Skelter. How did we get here? That was probably my bad.
It's a bit of a mixed bag in that regard, but yeah, you were kind of missing the whole thing for Helter Skelter for where we were getting at, because at this point you're talking about the Beach
Fan
Boys.
fiction, Steven.
Beach Boys and parties and what's happening with
Needs
them.
to know. Do you need your glasses to see?
No, I can read well enough.
There was this English creative writing major who kept writing fiction about Steve and like sending it, and like low-key it was fire.
Oh. Like, what kind of. Like saucy?
At times.
At times?
Like there was plot, but it wasn't like deep plot.
Oh, wait. Okay. I just remembered that we did another video on a cult, and how much do you know about Heaven's Gate?
Heaven's Gate. You mentioned Heaven's Gate a bit.
That's the
I mentioned it a
that's
couple
the
times.
Comet Halley-Bop thing. So I'm sure you guys know about the end of Heaven's Gate, right? Where they all
drink the Kool-Aid and die.
No, that's Jim Jones.
oh yeah,
Well,
that was
Kool-Aid,
the
but they
one
do all
in
die.
Caribbean.
Yeah, it was a very similar situation where they all drank poison and then went to go lay in bed and die wearing the exact same outfits, which included like Nike sneakers. So that whole thing, that was in the 90s that they all died, right? Except for the 2 people who were left behind to run the website who still respond to emails.
Wait. So there's people still alive who were part of this cult who were perfectly fine just being the only 2 alive.
Yeah, they were like the ones who were left behind. They weren't even the leaders. They figured that the comet's going to come back at some point, and that's a UFO. Yeah, so here's the thing. You think that's weird. The cult was started by a guy named Marshall Applewhite, who was a gay man who was convinced he was the second coming of Jesus. And he was from Texas.
I mean, to be fair, there have been a number of people who believe that they've been in the second coming
The
of
one
Jesus
in China.
here. Yes.
Yellow
Aum
something.
Shinrikyo.
Yeah, I will say Heaven's Gate is one of those things that you look at it and you're like, oh, this is how it happens. Because it's all very well documented that Marshall Applewhite, and I cannot remember the woman's name for the life of me, but Marshall Applewhite and this woman come together, and he's basically like the spokesperson for her, and she's supposed to be the one who's really connected to everything, which you're like, okay, but aren't you Jesus? Like,
What's another one? There was another cult here where it was a woman who believed that she was that she was also the incarnation of Jesus,
Yeah.
as well as Marilyn Monroe.
oh,
Yes.
no, she believed that she was Marilyn Monroe and Jesus at the
And
same
Jesus
time.
at the same time.
That is a weird version of the Trinity.
I'm gonna look this up.
Okay, a lot of cults have like, so Rajneeshpuram, have you ever heard of that cult? They took over a small town in Oregon, and then it got like almost murderous. It was really bad.
good.
But Rajneesh was the guy. He was the head of that cult, and he had a woman named Sheila who kind of ran it because then he took a vow of silence right as everything was taking off. So she had to be in charge of literally everything.
Okay.
So she was kind of like the head of this cult for so long. And then, as you know, everything went insane. They took over the town. They started winning elections. They started bringing in homeless people to win elections. They literally renamed the town. The school was part of the cult. They had a government, state-funded cult, actual police force.
They bust. So when she's talking about for
And
like,
did
they
all
would
of these people were in the cult?
Yes.
The entire town was not in the cult. The cult moved into a town where a bunch of people already lived.
And nobody was like, hey, there's a
They
cult.
were.
They
Okay,
did.
they just
That's
somehow
why.
didn't prevent it.
They couldn't.
They tried to.
How do you not prevent
cult
that?
trucked in members from everywhere and like so first they started trucking in random like members from all over to vote in these elections because Oregon had super like lax voter registration laws.
What?
You
A
only had to live
Pacific
there-
Coast state with lax voter registration
you
laws?
only had to
I
live
know,
there
it's
for
a
like
major surprise.
20 days or something. So they would just have everybody come in and they live there now and then they'd vote. And so they got like all of city council. And then they tried to expand to like the general entire like county instead of just that town. And
By the way, this is how the Illuminati started.
really?
Yeah, but continue.
Oh, and then eventually they got shut down because they had plans to like murder people. And then they trucked in a bunch of homeless people from like a bunch of southern states. And then when the homeless people started acting up, they drugged them all
Oh.
to calm them down. And then when they couldn't, because they changed the voter registration laws, they took them and they carted them out to another like kind of outside town and they just dropped them all off. And then the other town was like, what the f*** are we supposed to do with all these people? What the f***?
I mean, that happened to Phoenixville back in the 80s. The steel mill closed down. And then at basically the exact same time, they closed down Pennhurst Asylum. Yeah, that Pennhurst Asylum. And instead of like transferring all of those people to a mental hospital somewhere, this was the
They
80s.
just let them out?
Yeah.
Into the...
Yep, just let them out into the community. And so Phoenixville and Spring City, like all these areas, they went from being, a bustling iron and steel town to a place where everybody was out of work and a good percentage of the population had legitimate psychiatric issues.
But
Dear
it
God,
seems
like
pretty
psychosis.
chill now.
Oh, yeah, it got a lot better in the last 10 years. But like 10 years ago would have been kind of the earliest time in Phoenixville's history since the 80s where you could go out on the street at night. When I was a kid, my dad lived like a mile that way, and we did not come here.
Damn.
This building
brewery's
did not look
healed.
like this. The brewery, exactly. Alcohol fixed Phoenixville. Alcohol brought this town back from the brink. Listen, all
Where
we
wa-
need is love and beer.
Where even were we in the cult conversation? What
He
was
was
happening
talking
with the murders?
Helter Skelter, then cults with the Marilyn Monroe, Jesus.
Oh wait! Oh, I
Yeah.
did find it.
Rajneeshpuram.
Yeah. I brought up
We've
the
been on
Illuminati.
topic though.
Oh, and what
We
ended up
have
happening
been.
here? So on the part for Rajneeshpuram, what they tried to do to take over the town, they knew that this vote was going to happen. They knew that they were probably going to lose the vote, so they tried to stop the people of the town from voting.
It was the largest bioterrorist attack in the U.S. because they poisoned everybody by sprinkling, what was it? Anthrax? No, it was
No. It was it was a stomach irritant
Yeah.
because they tried to basically give them
Basically-
bad food poisoning.
at all these salad bars in town, so people wouldn't show up to vote. They went in there and they sprinkled this onto, because they were culturing it in the basement of Sheila's house.
Naturally.
They sprinkled it on all of their food, and they were also like injecting poisons into chocolates. The literal sheriff and a few other local, like actual government people went out and they gave them water that was laced with something. They all got super sick, almost died. Yeah, it got intense.
And the entire effort was to get them sick right before election day, so
Oh
that
my
they could
God.
not go out and vote. Like it is genuinely demented as to how this whole thing happened. But the part that I was talking about, the cult, was called Love Has Won. Like that's literally the name, is Love Has Won.
What, did she look like Marilyn?
No, there was on. I'm gonna read this description here. On April 28th, 2021, the mummified remains of Amy Carlson, the 45-year-old leader of the group Love Has Won, were found in a home in Moffat, Colorado.
What a name for a town.
Carlson was known to her followers as Mother God and claimed to be able to cure cancer and communicate with angels. She also said that she was the reincarnation of both Jesus Christ and Marilyn Monroe. According to the affidavits taken by the Saguache County Sheriff's Office, the group would be brainwashing people and steal their money.
Why was she mummified?
That was your question?
Yeah.
That's the question you have after all of that?
I don't know. I'd have to look into this. It just says afterwards, while police do not believe there was any foul play associated with her death, 7 members of the group were arrested and charged with abuse of a corpse and 2 counts of child abuse.
So mummification is abuse of a corpse.
Well, it may mean that, like, for what it is that they did is they literally kept a corpse and mummified it themselves there.
Yeah. The abuse of a corpse is a pretty wide-ranging...
Because it's a health hazard. Because you're not licensed to do anything here. That is a health hazard.
It can be anything from necrophilia to necromancy. Or just having a corpse.
Either way is getting a raise out of something.
Oh, Steve. Where is it?
Oh yeah, you could bonk him. Does that hurt? No.
Yeah, we have the bonking weapons.
So good to not get bonked this whole episode.
Yeah, well, you've got
behavior.
about 16 and a half minutes.
Okay. Helter Skelter.
Yes, we still haven't gone through the whole point with Helter Skelter. We were at Beach Boys.
Yes.
And the
Brought it
parties.
together.
Oh, that was, I mean, that was all that I really wanted to get to was the ridiculous aspects of the cult. Because at the end of the day, like, they did kill a bunch of people. And I think tried to assassinate Jimmy Carter.
What
Gerald
the
Ford,
hell?
one of them.
Okay.
Who did they try to assassinate? God.
It's probably
I just
Ford.
don't
know.
understand the murder cults or the suicide cults. Because, like, when I think of cults...
Well, they got to kick off, the whole goal was to kick off the race war.
It didn't kick off? Like,
No.
Nobody was in on it?
No, because they did end up, I think, killing a few cops and trying to make it look like it was black people that did it. They did not do a very good job of that.
Yep, President Ford is
Yeah.
what they tried to assassinate on September 5th, 1975.
They were not very good at anything. They did have a ranch,
I'm learning most cults have a ranch and are terrible at actually executing their plans.
which is why I have to keep reminding people that our ranch will not be a cult.
I thought you gave up on the ranch.
No. It's just kind of, the ranch will happen.
Okay.
God has ordained it,
So-
but it's not a cult.
If we all go to this ranch and we live in harmony, you guys are not going to start murdering people.
No, God, of course not. I mean, maybe ATF
Scouts
agents,
honor.
but
What?
only if they try something.
So we will not be moving to the ranch.
I wouldn't.
Say you're not moving to the ranch.
I'm not saying a damn thing in any of this. I don't want to be incriminated for anything.
Oh my god.
In Minecraft.
In Minecraft.
In Minecraft.
Yes, we are going to mod Minecraft and have a ranch in Minecraft where there are ATF agents instead of pillagers. You know, it's fine.
I'm going to drink my drink now.
Uh-huh.
I do want to talk about the Illuminati at some point, but I think we should save that for the Patreon segment because one of the guys' names is... I don't want to trigger YouTube's AI.
Fair enough.
Can you spell it?
Knigge. And his first name is Adolf.
Oh!
Yeah.
Rajneeshpuram named the local dump the... Can I say it?
You can
on
say
here?
his name.
Adolf Hitler. They literally named it after him. Like, that is what it was called.
The
And I
dump?
feel like they just did that at that point to troll because there was no fucking
Oh,
reason
yeah, no,
for it.
no
Like,
way.
literally none. They also did the largest case of immigration fraud in the U.S. history, as
yeah.
well as the largest bioterrorist attack
Yeah.
on U.S. soil.
You know what? I respect them for going big.
But
And
then,
this was after he ran into serious trouble with the Indian government and had fled to the United States.
but then Sheila left here, went to
Those H-1B
Germany,
visas.
got arrested, got released, went to Switzerland, and started 2 nursing homes. She lives very peacefully and takes care of old people.
Sheila?
Yeah, the one who was like doing all this stuff.
How did she get away with that?
She did serve like a sentence. It was like 10 years or something, but it got reduced, and then she left. Because she didn't actually kill anyone, I don't think. I'm
but
pretty
that's-
sure she didn't.
Like multiple attempted murders.
They had plans to kill people, but then she got busy, so
That's
they
conspiracy to commit murder.
they bought all of the guns, and then they didn't actually kill anyone.
That was the other thing. They did try to make guns.
Make?
Right?
No,
it wasn't
they
them.
bought guns.
That was Aum Shinrikyo who tried to make
Yeah, Aum
guns.
Shinrikyo tried to make guns and bombs.
What do you mean tried to make? It's not hard.
They did try to manufacture a gun, but it didn't work out.
They're not difficult to make.
You can make a gun.
Yeah.
so
give me
essentially-
the right tools, and yes, I can make a gun.
They got the plans for AKs.
In Minecraft.
We're not talking about just trying to make homemade pipe guns. They tried to make AK-47s.
Oh, I'm thinking here. I'm like, yeah, with a couple of metal pipes and a wood, you can make a gun.
No,
It's
they
not
wanted
hard.
the gun.
This is the 80s heading into the early 90s. The Soviet Union is collapsing at this time. So what they were doing is they were mass buying military gear from Yugoslavia and former Soviet states. So they actually had a Soviet helicopter. They had multiple, I think, Soviet helicopters.
Oh my God.
Oh, they did.
They did. And they bought a couple AKs. They were trying to recreate them themselves. They couldn't quite get it.
Which just goes to show not all smart people are smart enough to be called smart people.
Oh, that is also the other thing from that, is that even though we were talking about doctors, engineers, and other people being like members of the cult, it didn't mean that they were leaders within the cult. So what the cult would do is it would essentially try to control people through incrimination, was that the people that were not 100% swayed by the ideology of the cult and inducted into its most secret and evil plans, they would be tasked with doing illegal activities like, you know, the Sarin attacks and others that would be like, hey, you are part of this now, basically just locking them into being incriminated so it would keep them under control. Because it's like they're criminals now too, so you can't say anything.
I mean, that's
Something to consider for your ranch in Minecraft.
Oh my God.
no. We have a plan. It's gonna be nice. All you gotta do. You come out. You get an acre. All you gotta do is pay the property taxes on the acre, and you get a free acre.
Do you get can you just build anything on the?
Yeah, I don't care what you do.
Okay.
It's your acre. If you want another acre, it's the same deal. Just get a second acre for the property taxes. You want to have bees and make honey, and that's your thing.
Are you gonna make a local school that has like a tutor, and then everyone kind of homeschools?
Yeah,
That's
there'll be
kind
a
of
school.
vibe.
Yeah, it'll be like a charter school kind of deal.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't sound bad.
Exactly.
What's the catch?
There's no catch.
There's always a catch.
There is no catch.
You're gonna move out west.
Yes.
Get a ranch.
Yes.
Give away land.
Well, you have to pay the property taxes.
That's giving away land.
Okay, yes.
And there's no catch.
There's no catch. I mean, I get to control who can live on the ranch, but that's basically it.
And there's
That's
no catch.
That's just to make sure that we
You
don't
get
have
to
a bunch of
control
agitators.
the people who live on the
No,
ranch.
I get to control who is allowed to live on the ranch.
You gotta use your wording.
That's fair. Yeah, no, I don't get to control the people. I get to control who is allowed to come to the ranch.
Steve, what do you think of the ranch?
I say nothing in this
There
situation.
will be no chemicals on this ranch.
Well, I mean, there will be like bleach for cleaning purposes.
And nothing else.
Well, I mean, I don't know what kind of chemicals you need to properly clean things, but
Sorry, I'm just reading at
Sounds
this point
reasonable.
about like stuff, different stuff with cults and other things that have been involved. The Children of God recruiting with sex.
was that Jim Jones?
It is by David Brantberg.
Okay, so no.
We should talk about the tea company, Celestial Seasonings.
Oh,
and how
yeah.
They started the whole
Hippie
religion,
cult
the
tea.
Uransha book. Wait, how much time do we have?
We got 10 minutes.
Enough time. Have you gone to the tea section in grocery stores and seen like Yogi tea and Celestial Seasonings?
Apparently, all the tea companies were cult related. Not cults, but like cult related.
You know, I gotta be honest, if there's one industry that I feel like would be connected to cults at every level, it would be the tea industry.
You know how Mormon like religion started, right? With the tablets, nobody was allowed to see.
This is gonna be
So-
controversial.
Well, sorry. Was that controversial?
No, just mentioning Mormonism can get dangerous, but go
Sorry.
for it. No, go for
Never
it.
mind.
No, go for it.
I've gotten Mormons that have come after me for when I challenge
don't-
things on their very stupid
know.
history.
We don't dislike Mormons. We just
Some of my
are
best
very
friends
skeptical
are
about most of their beliefs.
Mormons are very nice.
They're very nice people.
Their perspective on history, especially when you go back to the beliefs, it's not just flawed; it is fundamentally stupid.
They have some questionable beliefs about black people.
I know.
And Native Americans and DNA and how it all works.
Yeah,
why they're
Mormonism
obsessed
kind of
with
didn't.
DNA.
Mormonism really should not have survived genetic testing and archaeology. Archaeology?
Archaeology. It's because
I
they
was gonna say
rewrote.
archaeological, but
I've heard they've revised some beliefs so that
Yeah.
it has more longevity.
yeah. So here's the thing: your religion shouldn't be able to just up and rewrite its beliefs.
I want to be like, but I don't want to get canceled.
No, it's okay.
Because
It's okay, because here's the thing. I have constructed a position now where I will make fun of anything, including my own religion. So I'm allowed to do this.
Okay, so Uransha book. Basically, they got given the meanings and facts of life and how the entire universe and other planets came to be.
Right.
But these were given by some celestial beings.
Right, of course.
To a communicator.
Okay.
Who is not to be named because they did not want something like in the Bible where prophets, like they didn't want like a book of like Daniel or Matthew or whatever. Like they just wanted there's no book of Daniel. But you know what I
There
mean.
is a book of Daniel.
There is?
Yes.
Perfect. They didn't
One
want
of my
that.
favorite books, actually. It's got great headings.
They did not want any of that. They just wanted the beings.
Yes.
So these beings gave them a whole lot of like truths about Earth. And you want to know a huge theme in these truths?
What?
Eugenics.
Oh, good. Everybody's favorite.
Literally,
Why do all of the mystery religions have like the eugenics factor?
because a
Like,
lot of them
why?
rose out of the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
A lot of these came about in the 50s and 60s. And can you guess exactly what was happening at that time?
And
A lot of
the thing
eugenics.
is,
Spiritual age beliefs combined with eugenics of the early 1900s.
I gotta hand it to the Wiccans. They do not have eugenics. They just have entirely incorrect beliefs about what the Celts thought.
Well, because they just made things up and said like, oh, this is what ancient peoples believe.
Well,
And it's
no,
like,
it
they
was.
did not.
So here's the thing: there
wait,
was a druidic society that developed in England during the late 1800s and early 1900s, where they thought that they were imitating Celtic paganism, and this was all based upon another cult which thought that it had carried through original Celtic paganism, despite the fact that we now know through scholarship it absolutely did not. In any way, it wasn't even close. They basically were like, Druids probably worshipped the moon.
Probably.
They didn't. They also were like, oh, the Druids had a mother god. Well, which Druids? Which Celts? What are we talking about? Point is, this guy, I think George Gardner or Gerald Gardner in the 1950s, he's like, yo, you know what I really like is getting freaky with it. But I don't have enough women willing to get freaky with it. What if I used Druidism to convince women to get freaky? So basically, Wicca is a pseudo-Celtic freak-off.
Why did he think that
It
would
worked.
get women? I know, but how did he know it would
He
work?
constructed it to take the patriarchy out
Okay.
so that it was a very fluid, men and women are always equal. In fact, women can even be above men, and a great way of reclaiming that female power is sleeping with me.
I fear this would have worked on me.
So, Gabby, I want you to think about this, and this is not me trying to stereotype, but this is reality. Gabby, also, you saying that means something because you yourself have said I would be the person that would join a cult because I just
Gabby made it all the way through and got bonked at the end.
because I just want to see what would happen.
I
You
would
would do
just
it
want to
out
see
of
what would
curiosity.
happen. Like that's the thing with me. I genuinely have like, I have beliefs, but I'm like I don't really care. Like as long as it's not like something insane.
Oh, trust
I'm
me,
like,
in this
whatever.
snenario, there's a lot of
Yeah.
No, there's a
you're-
lot of.
Oh, no.
Okay,
All right. Okay.
No.
Gabby's getting taken out back and bonked repeatedly.
oh, bro.
Oh, not like that. No, you know what? You're getting bonked for taking that sexually.
I'm just gonna finish my little drinky drink.
Oh, hey, Archie.
Archie,
He's doing a stretch.
He's on my side.
Yeah.
See, Archie votes that I've never done anything wrong.
But no, this goes back to that whole thing for a stereotype. Again, for anyone watching this, I am not saying anything negatively, right? But you would understand from the people that typically you associate as being Wiccan.
Your literal best friend for your entire life.
She was not my best friend, but she was a good friend there in high school. These are not individual people that you would typically think of as being, well, not promiscuous per se, or
It does tend to attract people who are
it tends to attract people that are
sexually free.
more sexually free. So the cult of the early stages of Wiccan, which is a complete fake mishmash of so much
Yeah, it
bullshit,
has absolutely nothing to do with actual
literally has
religion.
nothing to do with actual beliefs or history.
All I've gotten from this
It
entire
succeeded.
episode is that someone with a lot of historical and religious knowledge would be really good at starting a cult.
Yeah, if you wanted to deliberately subvert people.
So we should not move to the ranch because someone
I'm not
would be
starting a
really-
cult.
in Minecraft.
Listen, I may or may not have off the cuff in a joking manner referred to myself as the Messiah.
You're not helping your
I was just kidding. I wasn't being serious. It was a /s at the end of that, you know? I was under the influence. I was inebriated.
right. Because no one in a cult is ever inebriated.
No. We're definitely not. We might produce our own bourbon on the ranch.
Wait.
There you go.
Bourbon? I'm in.
Ah.
I'm in.
There it is.
What do you mean there it is?
Bourbon.
For her.
Just
For her.
the
That,
bourbon.
the thing that all she needed to do is to get hooked.
I just enjoy a good bourbon. That's not on me. Anyway, once we don't do murder cults, I'm in.
I think we have like just a couple minutes to kind of wrap things up here in the first place. We're doing the whole thing with tea because
We didn't
they
get
were in
to.
tea.
Okay, you do.
And eugenics.
You do it.
So eugenics was the last thing that was basically mentioned in here. Similar to what other beliefs have ascribed as basically a hierarchy of spiritual purity. It doesn't say black and white. No, it
like
uses
yellow
different
and
colors.
purple, but they all referred to actual real life races, which was really strange. And basically, Adam and Eve were involved because they went to different planets, and what they had to do.
Oh yeah, that's in the Bible.
Is they had to purify. So each planet had a certain amount of time in order to purify the race.
Okay.
But Earth failed at doing that in time.
right.
So a lot of the issues and health issues that happen on Earth are due to the fact that they failed at purifying.
Oh, this does not sound dissimilar from the beliefs of a YouTube channel called Spirit Science. Oh, you want to go down
actual
a rabbit-
YouTube video? A YouTube
it's
channel?
a channel. Yeah.
That
You want to go
today.
down a rabbit hole?
Yeah.
Spirit
Oh
Science.
my
mean,
god,
yeah.
this is just gonna be her listening to the stuff
Oh
on the
my
way
god!
back.
I've done several streams where I just go through Spirit Science's stuff, and I'm like, they unironically bring up Jewish space lasers.
What?
Oh yeah, the Hebrews are in fact an advanced race that comes from space that interacted with the Atlanteans and the Lemurians, and they were invaded by the Martians, who had basically the way that they phrased it, that the Hebrews did not complete the soul cycle properly and were sent back to properly become people.
Like Buddhist soul cycle kind of thing?
It's
like
been
for
a long
reincarnation?
time, but it's just, yeah, they get really into the tree of life. It's a lot of Kabbalah stuff.
I've been scrolling this
Oh
whole time.
yeah. Oh, it's a lot.
Okay, I reached the end.
Yeah.
Masculine and feminine energy is the first video.
And it's all cartoons and really soft-spoken narration.
Oh, I shouldn't click on this because Joya uses my YouTube, and she might click on it and think.
Yeah, you don't want that.
Yeah.
It's stuff. But that does bring us just about to the exact end of where we're supposed to go. And then if you stick around, well, not stick around here on YouTube, but if you're on Patreon, then if you stick around, we're going to talk about the Illuminati as soon as I go and use the restroom, the little
They're
boys'
also
room.
gonna bonk each other in the post
Those
show.
are two very different things.
They're gonna do both
Okay, this
in
is-
the post show.
The history unclothed is when we all become broke.
It's like
Yeah.
OnlyFans, History
Yeah, the-
Unhinged, Oh, that.
Yeah. Ooh.
No. See, what we're gonna do is this is only history. We're not doing
Only
anything else.
history?
It's only history. So all we're doing is we're just recreating the famous Greek.
yeah.
ability where
Who is gonna be Alexander the Great
I'm
in
trying
this?
To, no, I'm trying to remember the specific thing here. There was a type of wrestling that they did that was
This shit's on
armored.
the post show.
It was armored combat.
Oh, no.
Where they were naked except for greaves, a shield. No, it wasn't a wrestling. It was a run. They had a run, so you were racing people, but it was in armor. But you were naked except for a helmet, a shield, and greaves.
What about the?
Yeah. It was an
what
Olympic
about the
event.
bouncing that may occur while.
Okay. All right. Well, with that, we're going to go to the Patreon segment, everybody. See you soon.